Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. We're so excited you're here to our BLX webinar with Caleb Brown. Today, we're going to be talking about getting started in financial planning. So we really want to thank Caleb for joining us today to share his expertise on this subject. As a reminder, applications to the internship program are open, and we encourage you to apply as soon as possible. You can do that by visiting our website, blxinternship.org/apply. You can also send us any questions you may have about the internship to our email address, which is on our website, info@blxinternship.org. If you have any questions during the course of this webinar, you can use the question and answer feature at the bottom of your screen. We'll do our best to address those during the course of the presentation, but if we don't get to it, we'll be sure to address them at the end. So with that, I'd love to introduce Caleb Brown to you guys. He is with New Planner Recruiting and is a certified financial planner. Caleb, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you guys. Thanks for having me. Like I told you before we got on the air here, I love doing this. So hello, everybody. I'm Caleb Brown. I appreciate the intro, and just to add a little bit more. So I have really three roles in the financial planning profession. One is I spend about 75% of my time running New Planner Recruiting, where we help mostly RIA firms hire new planners. So that could be career changers, that could be new college grads, that can be, quite a few folks, a different number of folks. And then, so I spend half my day talking to people like you, trying to get in the industry. And then I spend the other half talking to firms on what they're looking for. So I'm going to come at it from that angle. But I also teach the practice management class at the University of Georgia's financial planning program. So at least the undergrad and the degree program, all the graduating seniors have to come through me in my practice management class before they graduate. So I get to see all the offers. I get to see all the firms that come in. People come to me for compensation advice and what this company's offering. So I want to share a little bit of that. And then also too, for the last 20 years, ever since I got out of Texas Tech a long time ago, I've been a CFP and do financial planning for a small number of select group of clients. So really coming at it from three different angles. So I hope that's helpful. And we are certainly in turbulent times, I think, right now. So, I think a lot of you on this webinar, it's like you're looking to break into the profession. And unfortunately, the positions that I recruit for, sometimes it can be tough to break into the profession. Okay. We're going to talk a little bit more about this as the presentation unfolds. But if you're looking for that sort of that true salaried position, the apprenticeship model where you're not going to have to bring on clients, you're going to learn from senior advisors, you're not going to have to sell insurance to grandma and grandpa and aunt and uncle and all that. Those are harder to find. What you see on LinkedIn and Indeed and a lot of these other places is more of the sales positions. And not that there's anything wrong with that, but just one of the things I want you to get from this is sort of understanding the differences between those two, sort of the apprenticeship versus more the distribution side. So talk a little bit about this overview of the financial planning profession. Okay, so I'm biased and I'll tell you sort of why I think it's the best. And I know you've heard from some of these other people as well, but because there might be some people on this call are like, I don't know, this BLX thing, it seems kind of cool, but I'm not sure about financial planning. And, I'm doing really good over here and I don't know. So we'll see if I can sell you. All right, deal. What does a desirable candidate look like? The firms that I recruit for that are hiring for those entry-level salaried jobs where essentially someone is paying you, you're not really adding any value, and you're working on their clients and you're learning on their dime. That's what I had when I came out of school. And that's what a lot of the candidates I recruit for are looking for. And as I addressed earlier, unfortunately, that's not the majority of the positions in this profession. The majority are, hey, come work for us. We're not really going to pay anything. You sell stuff. We're going to keep some of the money. You keep some of the money. We'll talk more as the presentation unfolds, how that's a harder path and that's more difficult, at least in my opinion, to learn the business. So how do you connect with firms? And then how do we interview to round out the talk? All right, so let's keep going here. And like Leisha said, if you have questions, put them in the chat. I'll try to stop periodically to see if anybody has anything, but if not, we'll have hopefully some time at the end. So why choose financial planning? I mean, I am admittedly biased. I have done this ever since I'm 21 years old. Okay, so I don't really know anything else, and I'm not going to know anything else. And some of you are like, oh yeah, Caleb, well, yeah, I hear you, but listen, in my recruiter seat, I'm talking to, we get a couple thousand resumes every year. And out of those, I might talk to 500 or 600 people every year. And I'm seeing all these people essentially begging me to try to help get them out of these other professions, whether it's a, airplane pilot, retired from the MBA, professor, coming from the military, teacher, mortgage part, whatever it is. Some of these jobs are really cool. Some of them pay a lot of money. They're reaching out to me to get them out of those professions. They want to get into the profession that you're getting into. Okay. It's very rewarding work. You can go the corporate finance, and I talk to a lot of these people. You can go the corporate finance route, and you can do TPS reports every quarter and hand that to 17 managers, and the stock goes up 1/4 of a point. That's great work. Good job. All right. Or you can work in this field with Sally Smith, who's saved up $400,000 over her entire working career, and she's coming to you and she needs that to last 30 years. And when you come up with a plan for her, she wants to give you a hug before she leaves the meeting. You don't typically get that in corporate America. Okay, so this is very rewarding work. It's also intellectually stimulating and challenging. I mean, like all these laws and all the, Secure Act and CARES Act and all this stuff, every time there's a new administration, new laws come out, things change, tax brackets, all this stuff. So this is not one of those things where you can kind of go through the CFP process and then sort of, kick your feet up on the desk and cruise into a vice president role and drink coffee and just call it good. All right. This is, I mean, because you have a lot of responsibility as someone's financial advisor, and you can't take that lightly. I mean, they're putting their financial life in your hands, and that's serious. All right. It's also very fun and, like I said, really rewarding. A lot of flexibility. I mean, on just sort of when you can work, where you can work, what type of work you can do, what type of client you're going to work with, what type of philosophy, what type of role you're going to have in a different firm, what type of firm you go to. So this is not, sort of medicine or accounting where there's one path and it's been established for thousands of years. If this is one of your goals, you can make a lot of money in this profession if that's one of your goals. Okay? You can help people and make lots of money. Okay? The only other profession I know that can do is like maybe medicine, but you got to go to school for half your life to do that. And that's reactive, not proactive, like financial planning is. So you can grow income, if that's one of your goals, absolutely. And then I think the last one, and maybe the most important, I think is really cool. And I mean, just look what the founders, Sean and Luis and Chloe have done with the ability to shape the profession. This is awesome. Look at Hannah Moore. Look at Michael Kitces and Alan Moore. All these cool things that they've been able to do. You can do this too. You can shape the profession. We've only been around about 50 or 60 years, financial planning. Medicine, law, accounting, they've been around thousands of years. Okay, so you're not really going to move the needle there. All right. So I always like to pull this up. This is for the non-finance folks. This is a normal distribution curve. And what I want to show you is sort of the first standard deviation right there. So the light gray from the mean, that's an average candidate. And that most of the people that call me wanting a job are average candidates. And some of you are like, oh my gosh, that's horrible. That's not necessarily bad. I mean, this is where I was when I was coming out of Texas Tech a long time ago. Okay. Hey, I'm doing what I should be doing. That's great. Okay. But a lot of times that's not what the firms are looking for. They're looking for more. So if you're a sports person, this is a 10th round draft pick right here. Okay, you're going to the pros, but you're not going in a high draft pick. You're not getting a good signing bonus. All right, you're just doing what you're supposed to. Like me at Texas Tech, I did my internship, I did my classes, I did this, I did what I was supposed to, and I didn't do anything above and beyond that. Nothing. All right, so call me an underachiever, call me whatever you want, but it's like, and did I kind of know that I was supposed to be doing other stuff? A little bit, but a lot of the stuff I didn't know I was supposed to be doing. So what else can I be doing? So if you move to 2 standard deviation, that's the light gray, the dark gray, and don't worry about the positive and the negative. I just didn't have room on the right side. But this is someone who's above average. This is someone that says, oh, okay, well, in my job, they're telling me I need to get ready for the Smith meeting next week. Well, I also see that the Mitchells are coming in too. I'm going to go ahead and start getting ready for that too, without someone telling me. Or if you're if you're in school still, or if you're in an education program, just give me an example. Hey, I'm supposed to do 1 internship to graduate. I'm going to do 2. Ooh, I'm not going to get credit for it. I'm going to do two. Hey, I have an exercise. Hannah Moore on the Amplified Planning taught us e-money. Ooh, I'm going to go download some of these other software programs that I see in all these job postings on the New Planner Recruiting website. And I'm going to get a free trial and I'm going to put my own information, or I'm going to put the case study information she gave us for e-money, and I'm going to run them through these other software programs. Whoa, whoa, far out. Like, no one's telling you to do that. You're not getting paid extra. If you're still in school, you're not getting a grade on it. Like, so what I want you, it's the mindset. It's not the GPA. It's not the evaluation you got at your corporate America job. All right. That sort of sets you apart. So if you're back to my sports analogy, this is like a first round draft pick. All right. So you're going to have signing bonus, a lot of firms interested in you, looking pretty good. So third standard deviation, this is like the Simone Biles. This is the Serena Williams candidate. Okay, LeBron, whoever you want to come up with, like this is Steph Curry. Everybody thinks they're this, all right, and they're not. 68% of people are again in the average side. So what is this person? And I'll just talk to you about a couple of candidates that we place, but and some of them are coming out of school, but again, it's somebody at a firm who says, "Hey, I'm gonna run the internship program." Oh, that person's on maternity leave. I'm gonna help fill in for them. Oh, you know what? The Smiths are gonna drop by tonight on their way to a ski trip. I'll stay here and do the paperwork, and I'll meet them. Um, what else? Hey, it's not really my job to go to this networking mixer, but I'll go do that and just represent the firm and give a talk to the Rotary group if I have to. Um, if you're still in school, like maybe you're in a leadership position in the financial planning, a student financial planning association, volunteer income tax volunteer organization. Maybe you're doing peer financial counseling. You've done multiple internships when you're only supposed to do one. You're just thinking like, how? Here's the average candidate. I'm on the other end of the spectrum. I'm looking. I am nowhere near the path to least resistance. Okay. It's going to be hard to succeed in some of these jobs like that I recruit for if your mindset is, I'm just trying to take the path of least resistance. That is not going to work, at least in the jobs that I recruit for. It might work in other jobs, mostly the sales jobs. All right. But that's what I'm trying to set the stage. So, all right. So I hope that we may have had some people log off after that. I hope I've still got some of you. So here's more specifics because some of you are saying, well, that's great, Caleb, but that's all, sort of high level stuff. Here's what a firm told me, firm owner told me. If you remember back March 15th, 2020, a little scary time for a lot of people, the United States, the world, whatever it is. This was their double negative, not mine. We cannot afford to not hire this person. This person was so good that I put in front of them, even though they didn't have the money to hire this person because their revenue was way down, they pulled the trigger anyways. That's a big risk for a firm. So a lot of you can take the security industry essentials exam. You don't need to be sponsored for that. It's super easy. It's $50. I think it's like 50 questions. My students at University of Georgia do this while they're taking my class. They get some extra credit to do it, but you can do that. You can also do the 63, 65, and the 66 with the U10 option. So the 7, you're going to have to be sponsored by a FINRA registered firm, but you can do all these for not a lot of money. Now it's going to take some time to study, especially that 65. Um, but you can do it, and that just makes you much more of a desirable candidate. Peer counseling, already touched on that. H&R Block, and I believe some of the other tax providers, they're always trying to get part-time seasonal people. You can go take their class. I think there's a small fee, and you can go through and just learn more about taxes. I mean, that shows a potential employer like, okay, this person's, they could have been sitting at home watching Monday Night Football, but they're doing this. Go to conferences. I think a lot of you are already doing that. Multiple internships, BLX. Hey, you're in the right place. I know they've done a great job of matching a lot of you guys up. If you're eligible to sit for that CFP exam, I mean, that's people that go get their CFP are serious about this profession. Okay, I get a lot of calls from candidates sometimes like, well, I really want to get hired, and then I kind of want to see if I'm interested, and I kind of want to see if it's a good fit, and I kind of hope they'll sort of pay for it, and I don't really have to do it. That's not what the firms are looking for. Okay, it's a little bit like I'm an attorney, like, yeah, you hire me, and then I'll think about taking the bar, and we'll see what kind of fit it is, and we'll see if I have time, and It just doesn't work that way. Okay. Learn software programs, already touched on some of those. Um, you can find those pretty easy. All right. So financial planning software is probably where I'd start. And if you want to go beyond that, you can, look at some of the CRMs, and a lot of the salespeople will give you a 10 or 15-day trial. Technology, coding skills, whatever it is, WordPress. If you know WordPress, Python, some of these basic coding languages, that's probably really good. Even if a lot of you are in the workforce already, but go to your community college, take a counseling, take a psychology course, take a conflict resolution. Some of you have experience with this in your career right now, and it's great. You're already above where you need to be. Because when I came out of school and my first client meeting, when my client started arguing and fighting and then crying, I wanted to crawl under my desk because I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to handle that. Okay. And then I think too, if you're struggling to get in with a good firm, write an article. Challenges of getting hired and published in an industry magazine. So you can, if you don't know any of the publishers, send it to me and I can get it. I can send it to some people. All right. And I guarantee you'll have some firms reach out to you and say, hey, we'd like to talk to you about a position here. Just small industry. It's crazy how it works. But one of the things I want to leave you with on this slide is I want you to be thinking, especially you guys out there in corporate America or real estate or wherever you're from, what can you take from your what current problems are you solving in your job right now for customers or clients or the corporation that you can transfer and solve those same problems for some of these small businesses? All right, some of these financial planning firms. Okay, and I say small businesses, smallest financial planning firms, a sole practitioner. That's one person. The largest clients that the largest RIAs out there are probably 500 or 600 people. Three or 400 billion in assets. Okay. Most of my clients that I recruit for are between 5 and about 25 people. All right. About between 5 and about 20 million in revenue or something like that. Okay. So they tend to be smaller organizations. All right, let's keep rolling. So I spend 16 weeks on this in my practice management course. We have about 60 seconds to go through this. So the good news is you're going to have all these materials, and this is being recorded. But these are the 6 primary channels that you can enter the industry in. Okay, so you got your insurance company. That's pretty straightforward. There's the licensure that you need, the 6 and the 63. Okay, so the mutual fund and then the variable contracts. Here's some, if you watch, paid TV with commercials, you see Northwestern Mutual, Mass Mutual, AXA, some of these other insurance companies, New York Life. All right. So they're going to want you to typically get in there and sell insurance. All right. Not that that's necessarily bad or good or right or wrong. You just need to know that. Let's keep moving over. Wirehouse. That's a more an investment focus. That's fully licensed is a 7 and 66. So when you hear the words fully licensed, Morgan Stanley, UBS, I know you guys have heard those names before. Keep moving over to the brokerage firm. So maybe this is a little bit more financial planning, a little bit more retirement planning, maybe not as much emphasis on just investment products like Edward Jones. Some of you are in small town USA and you're not in a major metropolitan area or you're where there's a RIA that you can work in. But there's always going to be an Edward Jones office, it seems like. So Charles Schwab and Vanguard as well. Fee-only registered investment advisor firms, that's where I recruit for mostly. These are RIAs. Okay, so make sure you don't get those confused with IRAs. You need that Series 65. Okay, you don't need a Series 7. You need that Series 65 to charge a fee for investment advice. Okay. Right? If a client calls in and you're on the job and a client says, "What's the difference between a stock and a bond?" and you answer that, that's investment advice. So you need your Series 65 for that. Elwood and Getz, that's my firm here in Athens, Georgia, where I live. Duly registered. So we love to make things even muddier and even more confusing in financial planning. So duly registered means not only do we receive fees, but we also receive commissions. So we're registered with the state or the SEC on the RIA side, but we also have a broker-dealer affiliation so we can receive commissions. That's why you need that 7 and 66. Here's one of my clients, Clarity Financial Group in Fort Worth, Texas, that's looking for someone right now. And then bank and credit union. Again, if you're in small town USA, there's always going to be a bank and credit union. The good news is everybody's trying to get in the investment. They may say financial planning business, but they're trying to gather assets is what they're trying to do, especially banks. So you need that 6 and 63. Some of them might want you to get that 7 to become the full registered representative. Bank of America, Wells Fargo. All right, so you can see there. So what are some firms that as we've kind of had some turbulent times, turbulent markets. I mean, firms that aren't the primary way that most of these companies generate their revenue is they charge a percentage of assets under management. Well, if the stock market goes down and their assets under management value goes down, their revenue goes down. So they're not really going to hire people. So I would encourage you to look for firms that are planning centric, that charge a separate fee for planning. Okay. And that they're getting revenue from planning fees, or they're charging retainer or whatever. It's like market's going to do whatever it does, not going to affect our profitability, our revenue. So look for those, the flat fee. And then also, I mean, I'm not necessarily recommending this, but your more sales oriented jobs. I mean, some of you are coming from sales backgrounds, and you're probably a great fit for going into one of these sales jobs, as long as you can find a good mentor who will teach you how to do financial planning. The challenge with the sales jobs, as I've alluded to several times now, is you're going to be sitting there saying, hey, I want to learn how to do financial planning like I learned in the BLX program. And you go to one of these distribution companies and it's like, hey, we need you really like to start selling things. We don't have time for you to do financial planning. I get multiple calls a day from people that have gotten that wrong. Okay. So, but if you go out there and sell, if the market goes down, like in you're in control of your income, you're doing your thing, you're not relying on anybody else, you might be less impacted. So how do we connect with firm? Actually, let me just stop there. I've been droning on for 20 minutes, and I hope we still have some people. So do we have any questions at this point, Leisha?
Yeah, absolutely. We have two questions right now. So Darby asks, I have 3+ years experience working in financial planning. Got laid off from my previous position early this year and trying to find the next great thing. Do you have any advice for me?
That's a that's a tough one. I may have to follow up
That's
with you
broad.
separately. I just don't have the facts on that. Here's without knowing really anything about your situation. The firms are growing and they're looking for people. They're trying to hire. Now it is going to cool off. It is going to cool off during the holidays, because look at Sean and Luis and some of these other planners have probably gone on and like all of this stuff you have to do, like required minimum distributions year end. I mean, they're busy doing work for their clients. Like getting you a job because you got laid off, like that's probably not number one on their priority list. So here's maybe what I would tell you. Keep looking, keep going. Here's some websites, and we haven't gotten to those yet, but I've got them pulled up. Um, Reach out to your network. Hey, here's what I'm looking for. And if you can't get anything, maybe you just work on a skill and you pick your job search back up, in January. All right, because you want to spend time with the family in the holidays or whatever it is, and maybe you're studying for another exam or license, or you're brushing up on your tax. So try to use that time wisely, because even like if you were to get hired right now, I mean, most companies probably aren't going to have you start until January anyways. So you're going to have some time. So I know that's probably not the answer that you wanted, but I didn't have all the facts. Go ahead. What's the next one?
Will peer financial counseling count towards the hours needed for the CFP certification?
Ooh, that is a great question. I'm going to say I don't know, but I think that the CFP board has gotten pretty expansive on the work experience that they'll allow. And maybe they just, maybe you did 500 hours or whatever, and they give you 200 hours for credit. I would write it up and get whoever the supervisor to sign off on it and just send it in and see what they would do. But my sense is they probably will allow some of it, if not all of it, but I don't know for sure.
Okay.
Okay.
Why do you think,
Oh,
sorry,
go
I
ahead.
got one more for you. We'll move on there. Why do you think there's such a huge burnout rate?
Great question. So the burnout rate is because I've alluded to this at least 5 times now. People are eager to get in this profession, and all the job openings out there, not all, the majority of the job openings out there are for no salaried sales positions where a company is hiring you to distribute their products and services. Again, there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that channel, if as long as that's what you want to do. And it's hard. Like, hey, I was in corporate real estate for 20 years. And the next Monday, it's like, okay, now I'm financial planning. Now I start trying to sell all my current, like, it's hard to get the sales cycle is long on this, on financial planning. It's hard to get people to buy a service or to buy a product from you. And you just keep sort of grinding and grinding, grinding, not getting paid very much, especially on these lower commission type sales jobs. And people think this is what it is. This is what financial planning is. I'm out of here. That's one of the reasons why I started New Planner Recruiting. I'm like, no, we're going to go get all these fee only firms that are doing financial planning that want to hire new people and take chances on them, take risks on them, but they're still in the minority. So that's part of the reason why we set the company up. So I would, the burnout stuff that you're seeing is mostly in the sales sector, not the RIA apprenticeship model. Okay, here's some ideas on where to connect with firms. All right, you're already in the right place. A lot of you've done the amplified planning internship, your externship. You maybe connect with me. I mean, I would just say right now, and this is what I tell my students: pull out your phone. I can't see you, but it's hard to keep people off their phone when a 60-minute webinar. Pull out your phone, pull out your computer, connect with me on LinkedIn right now. Make my network, which is bigger than yours, at least in financial planning, make that your network. That might help a little bit. Here's the financial planning specific job boards and organizations: NAPFA, National Association of Personal Financial Advisors. That's your fee only crowd. And here's another problem with our industry too: is a lot of the firms out there want to stay small and they won't hire people. It's like, I'm just going to be a sole practitioner. So part of my job as an advocate for you to go to these firms, say, look, you need to hire someone. You need to hire an intern. You need to hire an extern. You need to hire a successor, versus just waiting around for a private equity firm to come in and buy you. So that's kind of a challenge that we're facing in the profession right now. The CFP board has a job board, LinkedIn, anybody wanting to go through the accounting route, AICPA, any investment heavy people here, CFA society. And then I've got kind of the Indeeds, the Monsters, you're going to find a lot of junk on those. Okay. You're probably going to find a lot of postings, but they're not going to be high quality jobs, as I've been talking about. And the last thing is just telephone. Do a Google search for financial planners in Dallas, Texas. You're going to have a long list, and then start going through them and just call them up. Hey, I'm a career changer. I'm the BLX internship program. I've got an internship this summer, but I'm looking for something full time, and I'm just looking for an entry level job. And I know you may not be hiring, but hey, I'd love just to talk with you just for a few moments, just about your experience on how you got your CFP, how you started your firm. Most firms will take half hour with you to talk with you about that. And if they don't do that, you don't want to work with them anyways. Okay. And that's rude. And that's something unprofessional, something that I know me and some of the other BLX founders and other advocates in the profession are trying to fight against. All right. To at least talk with you guys and, make it less threatening. Hey, I'm just, would love just to keep in touch with you every once in a while, just to check in on your progress and just let you know how I'm doing. And but if they say yes, boom, you just kind of got a mentor. All right. Even though they may not know it, you may not know it. All right? Because that phone call right there, that person is in a study group, and someone in that person's study group is going to say, oh, we really need an intern, or we really need somebody. Oh, I talked to so and so. That's probably how you're going to get the job, not some posting or something somewhere. Okay. All right, so I don't have a lot more slides left because I wanted to leave room for questions and just other further discussion. But here's some interview mistakes, and I know a lot of you guys are seasoned veterans. We got a lot of career changers on here, and you guys don't make these mistakes. So this is going to be pretty fast. But uh, always logging in to if it's a Zoom interview or whatever it is. I try to log. I think I was a little late today. I was 8 minutes before, but you try to log in like 10 minutes before. We had an issue where my video didn't work. All right. So it's like, you don't log on at 3:01. It's like, oh, I'm sorry, Lisa, can you figure all this out for me? I don't know what's going on. It's like, no, you get on there early and you test this stuff out. Have some good lighting. You don't want laundry in the back. You don't want, some crazy piece of artwork or poster back here, or people walking around or whatever in your dining hall, or or whatever, your lunchroom. So just be careful, because anytime you reach out to someone, the clock starts. You're on the clock. You're being observed. You're being sort of measured. You're being watched. and you're being graded from that initial moment. Okay, so make sure you're doing that. Calling in late, kind of, I mean, that's people do that. You know, when I tell this story to my University of Georgia students, and they think I'm a complete idiot. But here's what I do whenever I have a phone call with a client. If I know I have a phone call at 3 o'clock, I have an alarm that goes off about 10 minutes before. Okay, and I'm doing my prep. I'm doing my prep. And about 5 minutes before, maybe even 4 minutes before, I'm sitting there looking at the clock, going through the way I want the call to go, even writing out a script I need to. And like right when that clock hits 3 o'clock, I'm dialing the number. I want to be calling them right on the button. And people are just like, man, just right on time because most people don't operate that way. They call in at 3:05 or 3:06, like, oh yeah, and they don't even address it. It's like you just wasted that person's time. In other countries and other cultures, that's fine. It's not a problem, especially in Europe. But here in America, that is going to get you ruled out and get you kind of a, you don't want a check mark, or an X, on your resume for doing that. Okay. And you guys may think that's stupid. It's like, well, it's 5 minutes later. Like, who gives it? Well, that person could have had another phone call. That person could have done an email in that amount of time. That's the way I want you to put yourself in their shoes. And for the folks on the call that are professionals, you know exactly what I'm talking about. People do this to you and it drives you nuts. So don't do it to them. Too casual of attire. I mean, I always know that it's an interview. Like even if you're talking to a recruiter, if you're talking to you always think it's an interview and you're interviewing for a job. So try to outdress the person that you're talking to. Okay, so always do that. Camera position, you don't want it to look, down low, like sort of up your nose and just, unflattering. You don't want all that. And, there's probably a lot of adjustments I could make, but, you maybe even have someone just, record yourself or have someone else get on a Zoom with you, test it out, make sure it works. And some of you are like, man, Caleb, this is a lot of time. Like, I don't have time for all this. Like, well, if you want the good job, this is the stuff that you have to do. That's what some of the candidates say to me. It's like, wow, this is like really serious. Like, yeah, this is really serious. You got a lot of people competing for a small number of jobs. And how are you going to get your way to the top? Poor or no lighting. Invest in some lights, and you can get one of those little ring lights on Amazon for pretty cheap. You're not going to break the buck. No one's saying you got to go out and spend thousands of dollars on lighting and camera and suits and artwork and no one's saying that. All right, you just want to look professional. Okay, no one's expecting that. Um, it's I'm the one talking, but if I was doing this, the whole time, like, looking down at my phone and like, it's just don't do that. People can tell that. I actually sent a guy on a candidate on a 2-day job interview, and the candidate spent 48 hours with this firm owner and members of the firm and also members of the firm owner's family. And the feedback I got back was, this was like a couple of years ago, like that person, we were with that person pretty much nonstop for 48 hours, and not one time did I see them pull out their phone. Whoa. Some of you are like, uh-oh, that's going to rule me out of that job. Like, you need to be cautious of this stuff. Okay. So just, you're not thinking, oh, that doesn't matter. They're doing it. They're like, nope, I'm sitting here. I'm focused on you, not worrying about somebody that posted something on Instagram. I can look at that later. Right. What else? Drinking. I have a bottle of water here. I try not to talk try not to drink, but if you have to do the coffee or the water thing, it's fine, just as long as it's professional. But just don't make it a distraction is the point here. Uh, Everybody has high speed internet, so we don't really have a lot of delay issues. And if you do, you might just say, hey, can we just turn the video off and just go to the old school phone? Because it's kind of awkward. It's kind of hard to hear. I'm only catching every 1 or 3 word. Take the ownership. Like, hey, I'm having a hard time hearing you. What you're saying is really important. I don't want to miss a word about the story of the founding of your firm. Do you mind if I just turn my video off? And if that doesn't work, can I just call you directly? Because something's going on with the connection. The client will love, the interviewer will love that you just took ownership of that interview. I think it's awesome because that's what you're going to, guess what? That's what you're going to do in client meetings. Everybody that's interviewing you is sitting there saying, how would this person do with the Smiths? How would this person do with the Johnsons? Could we put this person in front of the Joneses? Ooh, if the Browns, if they, if Caleb Brown said this, would they be able to handle that? Could they, you know, that's the lens they're looking at you from. Okay, so just remember that. And look, you don't have experience. I'm not saying you need to be an expert, but control what you can control, and these things you can control. Whether you have 15 years of experience in a CFP and a CFA and a CPA, you really can't control that right now. Okay, you can work up to those things. All right, and we are interviewing for mostly entry level jobs. Walking around, I think that's self-explanatory. And then here's the big one that I get from firms all the time. Because I always ask for feedback when I send a candidate on interview. And here's the negative feedback. This is number one. I'll give you number two in a minute. Yeah, Caleb, we talked to the candidate, loved them, thought they could have been a great fit. We talked for 2 hours and they didn't have any questions for us. 2 hours conversation, and you didn't have any follow-up questions, or you didn't want to know more about something else. I mean, that's kind of bizarre. And what the firms think is, oh, that person's not interested. That person's either not smart and not listening or not interested. You don't want that. Always have several questions prepared. Now, they may cover some of those in that 2 hours, but you should have a couple in reserve. Okay. Looking through the ADV, Advisor Disclosure Vet, if it's an RIA, looking through the website bios, looking at their social media channels. You could probably come up with several dozen questions to ask. Okay. The last one, and maybe the career changers on here will get this, but maybe the younger, like, hey, Caleb, we met with this person. We spent 2 hours with them and we never heard anything. Are they interested? They never sent a thank you note. They never thanked us for our time. They never and then I follow up with the candidate like, yeah, man, I really want to go work there. It's like, this is great. Like we had a great meeting. And I say, did you let the busy professional who took 2 hours out of their day to interview you know that? No, no, no. They said they were going to I didn't. No, doesn't matter what they say. Doesn't matter if they say they're going to follow up. Doesn't matter if they say, ball's in our court. You always follow up. I mean, I'll never forget this. Like all these candidates that it's rare now, but I had somebody, and I'm not saying do this because this is kind of risky, but I interviewed someone a long time earlier on my career, and like later that day, a thank you note, handwritten, came in the mail. They put it in before and wrote a generic thank you note. I mean, it was like, whoa, this is crazy. I would recommend, that's awesome and it's memorable. I would recommend if you have bad handwriting like myself, email's fine, but just writing a note, dropping it in the mail the same day. It'll get there a day or two later, and that's fine. Okay. You want to be memorable, and that's one way to do it. All right, we're winding down here. A couple final closing thoughts, and then really want to hear from you guys on what I can help with. Okay, so I can't see you, and this is not my class, so I can't call on you, and I'm really bummed about that. But you can fire away at me. All right, it'll be open season. Tips for success. I mean, someone mentioned this earlier. It's like this is a difficult industry if your path is going and trying to start your own business from scratch. Hey, I've been in the mortgage business for 20 years and I got laid off like everybody else when rates hit 8%. I'm just going to I'm going to go to XYPN and I'm going to start my own firm. Well, that's a great platform. They don't get the clients for you. You have to get them. So, and, just kind of rules of, Sean and Michael Kitsis and Alan have the data, but I mean, just my own entrepreneur journey, I mean, like, you need to plan on probably about 3 years to get up and going. I mean, get the revenue going and get the clients going on. I mean, it's easy for people to give up. You get burned out, or man, I went on 7 appointments and I couldn't sell this life insurance policy. And, it's like, I just think I'm going to go back. I'm going to go be a football coach. I'm going to go, which is nothing wrong with that. That's a great vocation. So you just kind of put your head down. What's likely to happen and what happens in the positions I recruit for is I put people in these firms and the expectations are very high. And a lot of times they haven't been communicated clearly. And sometimes in the first 90 days, there's a little bit of like, ooh, I'm in the big leagues now. I really got to step it up. And sometimes the firm owner has to tell them that. Sometimes I have to tell them that. But it's a two-way street. Utilize alumni, the BLX alumni, your alma mater alumni. I mean, every one of you right now could go to where you went to school high school, college, whatever it is, find someone on LinkedIn that's a financial advisor. I mean, I almost guarantee you could. Everybody these days is a financial advisor. Right? All right. So reach out to them. All right. Reach out to them. Hey, I'm just looking for some advice. We went to Fresno State together, or I was at Fresno State after you were, or I was there before you were. I see that you're a financial advisor. I'm looking for a career change. Any words of wisdom? And if you're really struggling, I mean, and I had this, again, if we have any like another coronavirus, pandemic, it's like, and I'm not saying this because I know a lot of you have loans and families and kids, and I've got kids too, and they're expensive. Got to pay for the kids, right? Consider an unpaid, like, hey, just I got laid off or whatever, like the person earlier. Call up some local firms in your area, Dallas, Texas, or whatever, San Antonio, wherever it is, and hey, can I just? I'm looking at breaking in the profession. Can I just come and just observe, just shadow you for a day or two? I'll sign a non-disclosure. I'll sign it, whatever you need me to do. I'm not asking to be paid. I would love just to just kind of observe, and like a lot of firms would be open to that. Okay. Maybe not at the end of the year, like the example I just gave, because they have so much going on, but you may try doing something like that. Here's where I see a lot of potential problems on like negotiation. Like I have candidates, a lot of them are already CFPs, have experience inside. They have a number in their head. Like they're interviewing with someone else, the firm comes back slightly lower. And I'm talking like a couple $1,000s, not a lot, but willing to give up an opportunity because for $2,500. I've seen deals go down for not work for less than that. And here's my word of wisdom for you. If you don't get anything else on this talk, yes, you need to be paid what you're worth, but the compensation, like at this point, really doesn't. I mean, a couple $1,000s is it's just not worth it. If you're going to find someone who's going to get you in front of clients, mold you, mentor you, hire you, take a chance on you, teach you what they know, introduce you to their clients, all right, take that opportunity, even if they're paying less. Okay. I mean, it's like it, I have a lot of trouble with this on some of the younger career changers and sort of the college grads because, like, nope, my professor said I should be making this. It's like, relax. All right. This other position over here could potentially earn you millions more in future earnings. That makes that $2,800 look really small, doesn't it? Okay. So just be smart about that stuff. Okay. What else? Additional education, train yourself. A lot of these RIAs that I recruit for, the training is, hi, welcome to the firm. All right, come sit next to me and watch what I do for the next couple weeks. And then after that couple weeks is over, it's like, do you have any questions? Okay, you're ready to go. We're expecting you to be able to do this. That's a high standard, especially for a lot of you that have been coming from corporate America, where they sit you in front of PowerPoint slides for 6 months. Okay, it's a different environment. So always be looking to what else you can do in addition to supplement. I mean, you can go get a kitsis.com membership for, $150 a year or something super cheap, learn more about practice management, technical stuff, client communications. There's a lot of other providers out there that you could find pretty easy. FPA, NAPFA, they have their own programming. Additional education. I'm not saying go out there and get a bunch of other degrees and rack up a bunch of student loans. That's not what I'm saying. All right. And then just, what a lot of you, I mean, maybe um, you leave. I'm just trying to come up with an example here. You left Silicon Valley. You left a startup. Well, maybe you join one of 500 firms that's over in Silicon Valley that specializes in stock option planning. And like, hey, I just went through this and I can go back and I've learned this and I experienced. You've developed an expertise in that company's stock options. Right. And you have a lot of credibility because you work there. All right. Now I think that works well as you're part of a team. Sean's firm or one of these other guys, I mean, that might work well, but you go hang the shingle and it's just going to be hard to get sort of the credibility going up. Stay positive. Already talked about that, and just be prepared to do things you normally wouldn't do. I mean, the people that I've seen have success, they just do stuff that other people won't do. And a lot of them early on, like when they started in the Wirehouse channel, it's just calling people at home in the middle of dinner, and they end up getting a client out of it. Okay? I'm not saying do that. I'm just saying that's the mindset I want you to be in. Like what I talked about earlier, sort of, are you going to be that first standard deviation candidate like I was when I came out of school, and I had to work really hard to kind of move the needle to get to the second standard deviation, and the guy that hired me really wanted someone in the third standard deviation, and I didn't really meet expectations. or where are you going to be? Okay, you going to be the Simone Biles candidate, or are you going to be the 10th round draft pick? Okay, so here's my information. I'm a pretty easy guy to find. Hopefully, you already linked in with me and you'll get all our content. And I have another little treat for you. So I have the same conversation with candidates over and over and over and over again for the last 14 years. So I finally, you can see a picture of there. I wrote a book about it. All right. So we released this over the summer. Very easy read. I went over the high points today, but there's a lot of scripts in here, a lot of advice for new college grads, but also career changers, anybody trying to break into this industry. So I encourage you to check that out. It'll take about 3 or 4 hours to read, and it'll cost you $7. It's not going to break the bank and blow up your social life. So I would encourage you to check that out. All right, enough for me. I think we got a few more minutes left, and then I'll turn it over to Alicia.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Caleb. We have some really great questions coming in. We'll see how many we get through. Tia asks, what do you think about applying for another position in a firm, like client service associate or operations specialist, if you have some skills that fit those position requirements, but use it as a way to get on board at a firm with the interest in becoming a part of their advisor team?
Thank you for that. I think everything's fair game. Absolutely. If the firms see it as too big of a risk to get you right into a paraplanner or associate planner role, get your foot in the door however you can, because guess what? Even the paraplanner and the associate planner, they're going to be doing some admin ops and client service. And I tell everybody this. When you start in this business, you need to learn the foundation. You need to learn the custodian. You need to learn the paperwork. You need to learn the client service stuff, because you're going to have conversations with clients for the rest of your career. And they're going to be like, well, how do we do that? And you want to be able to at least speak somewhat intelligently about that. So build that foundation. So there's no, I mean, a lot of people are like, especially out of the CFP program, is like, oh no, I can't do admin. That's below me, beneath me. No, no job is beneath you when you're trying to get in this fabulous profession that I've been rambling on about for the last hour. If it's as long as the values there, the culture's there, the philosophies match up, and they are open to, if you prove yourself, to moving you off the ops track to the advisory track. Yes. Now that's something you might want to explore further and talk with them, because some firms, they don't have that flexibility. It's like, no, you start on the client service, which I think is silly, by the way. You start on the client services track, you can work up to an operations manager. You can never become an advisor. It's sort of bizarre, but some firms think that. So you just maybe want to tease that out a little bit more.
Perfect. Here's one more. With getting into financial planning, is there an order of certification we should follow regarding the CFP, SIE, or any of the series exams?
Oh, I love that. Thank you for asking. We actually shot a video on our YouTube channel a couple weeks ago for this, but so you can look at that. I think that's maybe a little bit more in depth of what I'm going to do right now. But there is sequencing. Now, a lot of it's going to depend on what type of job you're looking for and what type of firm you want to join. If you're looking at joining one of the FINRA registered firms where you got to have that Series 7 or that Series 6, here's what I would do. I'd go SIE, and then I would probably go the Series 66, and I'd go CFP, because they're going to want you to get those licenses. Then you can work up to the CFP. If you want to go to one of the RIAs, registered investment, the fee only, where you needed that Series 65, remember that chart I showed you? That's what I would start with. I would start the Series 65, because you're not really going to need the SIE if you go to a fee only firm, okay? Because they don't have a FINRA affiliation. So, and the 65 is not as hard as the CFP, but it's no slouch. All right, you're going to need to buy a review course. I have a podcast episode on, and also some information in the book about how to pass a 65. But there's a lot of sort of memorization on state laws and security laws, and I mean, you need to spend, you get a book or review course and probably spend at least a couple weeks studying for that. So two answers for two different channels. And if you say, I don't know what channel, Caleb, I'm just sort of clueless, I don't know what's going on, you just, open the fire hose at me in the fire hydrant. I would probably say SIE, because that's going to be the easiest. Everybody can go past that like next weekend. Series 65, and then maybe that's then the CFP after that, is what I would say.
Great. And I will put in a little plug for BLX there. We just launched our own SIE program for applicants that were not successful in getting an internship. So if you apply to the program, you're eligible for that scholarship. We'll put you through the course and give you a free scholarship to take the exam for free. So just another option for you guys out there. Another question asks, should we also get the CFA?
Well, I hate to give you the typical financial planner answer of it depends, but if you want to go the investment management, if you want to focus, if your interest lies in more the investment side, chartered financial analyst, all right, that's how do you break, what, the book value of the stock and, all this type of stuff. Uh, yeah, I mean, if that's your interest, or you go to a firm and that's their focus, they're more investment focused, and everybody else that you're going to be working with is a CFA, probably. All right. That is a very difficult feat though. 3 years, back to back to back, one exam each year. And they're very tough. I mean, I think the last time I looked at it, most people can get past level one, but level two is what gets people. And there's like a 40 something percent pass rate. So I know whenever I see a CFA, I know they've really put in the time and they know their stuff. But my work as a CFP, and I think the way the profession is going is that's great to have, but in personal financial planning, it's probably losing some of the luster that it had 20 years ago when I started, when it was really all about the investments. I mean, now there's, outsourced, TAMPs, there's, other companies that, can do this. There's robo advisors. So I spend very little of my time with my clients talking about their investment portfolio. I mean, very little. Most of it is on the planning. How are we going to give money to this? Or how are we going to save taxes? Or, what's our retirement projection looking like? When are we going to take Social Security? How are we going to go prepaid plan or 529 plan? That's what I'm spending most of my time. Not like, okay, well, international bonds was up, 7.2%. Emerging markets, we've got to increase our allocation by 0.2. That, I mean, there's just there's a lot of technology and software and people with, Harvard MBAs with 25 computer screens that they do all that type of stuff.
Any recommended financial planning software that we should get familiar with?
Yeah, there's a handful out there. So that's, Right Capital, Money Guide Pro, eMoney, Money Tree, and Naviplan. Those are probably at least what I see, the least popular. But here's what you can do. You can go. I think the Financial Planning Magazine does a survey every year. They survey all their. Maybe it's Joel Bruckenstein, but you can just do a Google search on Financial Planning Associate, software survey or something. And what they do is people respond to a survey like, here's the financial planning software that we're using, and just look at the larger ones. So it's eMoney and Money Guide Pro are the leading. Right Capital's in there somewhere, and then there's the other ones follow. And I love seeing resumes that say something like, hey, I did 15 plans in eMoney over the externship or my internship. Uh, Limited exposure to Money Guide Pro or Right Capital. Maybe I've done one or two plans, or I've seen some webinars. I love seeing that, because that again tells me that you're going above and beyond, and you're spending a lot of additional time that no one really told you to do that, and you don't know if it's going to pay off. And if you buy my book and you read it, you'll understand why I make such a big deal about this, because that's kind of how I got my job. So it's kind of close to home.
Perfect. Let's see. What is the balance or the percentage between acting as a salesperson and working with clients planner for a sales focused and non-sales focused role?
Love it. Let me answer it this way. You're always selling. Okay, I want that to sink in. You're always having to sell yourself, even if you're not in a sales role. Your role may be just to get 50 plans done per month, and it's someone else's job to bring in the clients. So you're not having to sell and get a business, bring in the business, but you're having to sell the people that are paying your salary, like, on why they should keep paying you. All right. You got to deliver value somewhere. So some of you may have heard this already, but there's finders, minders, and grinders. Okay. Finders, find clients, mind them. Somebody brings them in and you just service the heck out of them. That's minding them. That's the relationship people. And then the grinders. That's the person that just loves saying, Caleb, I don't want to talk to anybody ever. I want to be down on the, basement, level 2, and I just want to crank through analyses. I don't want to talk to anybody. I want to crank analyses. I want to hand it to someone else on here's their withdrawal rate that they should be taking, or here's their when they should take Social Security. And I've spent 80 hours on this and this is perfect. And I want to hand that to someone else. That's a grinder. Okay. Now, some of the people on this call are like, well, I'm having to do all those roles. I'm in a small firm. And some of you will, but you need to try to figure out, self reflection, like, where am I? Am I good at getting clients? Am I a good salesperson? Am I good at taking care of people? Okay. So as your career progresses, you might start in the grinder role, then you might move into the minder role. And if you really want to make a lot of money, like I said earlier in this profession, the biggest lever you can pull is getting people to sign up for an intangible service. And that's a big lever to pull with lots of dollar signs. If you can get that, you can make millions of dollars if you want to, because there's not a lot of people that can do it. Most people are in the minder and the grinder side. So just think simple economics. Okay. A lot of people can do it, not a lot of roles. The income potential is not as high. Not a lot of people can do it, a lot of roles here. And, the income potential is sort of through the roof. So that's probably not what you were looking for, not what you wanted me to say, but you're always going to have to sell. And look, and I have stories about this in the book. I mean, I'm just involved in my community, and like somebody's like, my homeowners are like, what do you do? Oh, I'm a certified financial planner. Oh yeah, what's that? And they're like, oh, here's what I do. And then like a year later, it's like, hey, we just inherited some money. We're about to retire. Can we meet with you guys? Like, that's business development. That's sales. I got a client. So it's not going out there and be like, oh, you got to set this account up with me. And like, none of that. So again, you're going to find more of that probably on the apprenticeship, probably the more planning focused the salary roles versus going to the sales organizations where they're going to say, like Merrill Lynch and some of the wirehouses, like, you got to bring in $10 million the first year, you're gone. All right. That's a different environment.
Perfect. We have been
Yeah.
getting. Oh,
I was just going to add, Leisha, sales sometimes has a dirty word, like a negative association. So to reframe it, you could think of it as education, and your role is really to educate a potential client about how what you do can benefit them. And if you believe in what you're doing, it's not really sales. It's really like, I just really strongly believe in what I'm doing, and I just want to help more people, and I want them to help themselves. So you got to figure out a way to position it that they can see the value in that. And then, yeah, like Caleb said, you're always selling yourself, or just in sales for your career as an advocate for yourself throughout your whole career. And then just one last comment about the financial planning software. As a resume builder, you can get a trial version of any of these softwares, and I would just get like a 7-day trial, sign up with eMoney or Right Capital, and just put yourself through the software to try it out. Just see how it works to kind of build that knowledge, and then you could put on your resume familiarity with Right Capital, or familiarity or experience with eMoney, and that's just like a great like. Employers love to see that.
Don't say expert or proficient, please. If you've run
Yes.
one plan, please don't do that. People love
Yes.
doing that, and I have to have some uncomfortable conversations sometimes. I know this group's not going to do it, but please.
perfect. Do you think there are enough clients in the marketplace for young people entering this career?
I think you cut out enough clients. Is that what the question was?
Yeah, do you think there are enough clients in the marketplace still for young people entering into the career?
I do, but realize I'm on the abundance mindset. A lot of people in my profession are in the scarcity mindset of like, no, 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 no. There's a limited number, and if I lose one, I mean, it's a zero sum game. Like they get one, I lose. Like it's just horrible. Look at the where you live. Look at the United States. I mean, especially in some of these bigger cities. I mean, look at the wealth being created every single day by these ideas. I mean, new millionaires are popping. I mean, you can even look at our IRS data. They put this out, and like the number of people over $1 million in income each year, they track that, and it's just gone. It's like crazy. It keeps going up. So yes, I think so. And also, the majority of people in the profession are going for these multi-millionaire, it depends on the niche that you're going for. A lot of the XYPN people and some of the other people have said, like, that's great. I'm going to work with people who are building wealth, and I'm going to charge them a little bit lower fee. There's a little bit different stuff. We're not going to do the assets. And, that's probably an even bigger pool. I mean, so it's absolutely, I mean, there is a lot of people out there that need help. You don't have to follow the old school model, and and not that that's bad, but that's how the profession was founded, typically working with more wealthy people. But even there, I think there's plenty of clients to go around.
Perfect. I know we're getting close to time. Are you okay taking one more question?
Sure.
Right. So last one here. How have robo-advisors impacted the industry?
Well, I alluded to this a little bit earlier. When they first came out, all the planners, a lot of my colleagues were like, "Oh my God, this is bad. This is like we're gonna put us in the closet and our career's over." And like that wasn't even close to happening. I would say it really hasn't impacted it all that much. Others on the call may disagree, but I mean, other than now, financial planners, if someone comes to them where they're used to serving someone with $5 million, if someone comes to them with $50,000, they could potentially take that person, put them on a robo platform, charge them a lower fee, and it expands sort of access to professional investment management, financial planning, if that's what they're looking for. And it's just a tool to help automate and leverage and commoditize. I mean, this kind of ties into what I was saying about the CFA earlier. Um, it's given more access. So I don't think and they didn't ask about this, that or AI is going to replace good old fashioned human CFPs.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for your time, Caleb. We've been getting some comments from some of our attendees. They just bought your book, so they're looking forward to reading it. That's fantastic. We did have a couple of questions about what to include on a resume. For any of those, you're welcome to visit our website, blxinternship.org/events. We did just hold a webinar about how to write a resume. Lots of a lot of great tips, especially for entering into this profession. So feel free to look at that. If there's any other questions, email us, info@blxinternship.org, and don't forget to submit those applications before the deadline on December 31st. Thank you again, Caleb. We really appreciate your time and everything you shared with us today. Have a fantastic rest of your day. And thank you everyone for attending.
Thanks for having me. Bye-bye.
Bye.